Let's not lose our cool. Then we're no better than the machine.
Hello everyone and welcome to my channel once again. So now that we have seen what it probably looks like, well, at least at times at Blizzard headquarters, kidding of course, let's have a look at what we can do, or like what we, the players, want from the game. And obviously it's not just me. I actually spent a lot of time asking around on Facebook groups, Discord, you know, channels, as well as like Reddit, etc., even Twitter. And yeah, this is like a accumulation of what most people want, you know, connected with what I want and what I consider to be the most important that this game requires to, you know, reach the peak, to become the jewel it deserves to be. Now, before we start, you know, let's say something positive, and that is Diablo 4 is so smooth, you know, just gameplay wise, animations, combat, responsiveness of the character, and the overall mood and graphics of the game are just above every other ARPG around. What we are lacking is the endgame content. Now, let's have a look at what people probably hate the most, and that is Duriel Prison and Helltide Prison. Now, you might be asking, why Helltides? And don't worry, we will get to that. Now, starting with the Duriel Prison, what I think should change to fix that boring chore that pretty much just, I don't think there's anyone who likes it. I don't think there's anyone who likes it. The boss is easy. 70% or 80% of the time, all you do is just walk to the boss, wait till he is summoned, and then just walk back. Like, there's nothing about it, nothing enjoyable about it. So the first possible fix is just make the pillar, the summoning pillar, not disappear. You know, the same way braziers work in the open world, just, you know, make it work the same way. After you kill Duriel, the brazier can be, you know, used again, and you just keep on summoning and summoning and summoning over and over till you have your full inventory to go, you know, salvage or sell or whatever, or keep your items and just go back. That would save so much time. And for people who don't care about the yellow items or aspects or, you know, any other item than the Ubers, they could just keep on re-killing it, you know, just over and over till they see that, you know, two-handed unique on the ground, etc., two-handed sword unique on the ground, you know, so they know that that's the grandfather, that's what they were farming for. So that's one change. The other change is split the Ubers among other bosses. Like, why is it just Duriel? You know, we have so many bosses and people want to be able to target farm. So just split the Ubers, you know, and yeah, let us target farm what we actually want for our build. Talking about Uber bosses, what about Uber Lilith? Does anyone even kill her anymore? I mean, maybe for the achievement and that's it. Like, Uber Lilith gives you nothing, absolutely nothing. There are no items included, nothing. And it's supposed to be the pinnacle boss, the main boss of Diablo 4. So just let her drop one guaranteed Uber. One guaranteed Uber for that, you know, seasonal kill of Uber Lilith. And yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense, you know, and maybe even for like, you know, other kills, not just the first kill, just let her give us something, you know, some materials, you know, a bit of items, whatever, because right now she gives nothing, just nothing. She doesn't even have to be in the game, to be honest. And then I actually heard a lot of people say, just remove Uber Duriel. Just, I mean, not Uber Duriel, because he still drops like Thibault's Will, etc., you know, that we really like for most of the builds, but just remove the Ubers from Uber Duriel. Just make them, you know, a random drop from all the activities, you know, because now with the increased Uber drop, you can even get an Uber in like T100 vaults. Obviously, you know, not as often as Uber Duriel, but you can. And a lot of people want Ubers to be special, to be something that 1 in 1,000 player has, you know, to not be like build defining, because right now, if you want the best in slot, it will have all the Ubers. in previous seasons, when we did not have Uber Duriel, you would not see that. Why? Because there was no one with the Ubers, you know? So yeah, now it's just people who have a lot of time to farm Uber Duriel, or are lucky to sell some gear and get a lot of gold to, you know, buy the materials, versus people who don't, who are like here, okay, maybe even lower. So the gap is like huge, right? And like, I don't think that's okay. So maybe that's actually the best thing to do. Just remove Ubers from Duriel. Now let's move on and look at the Helltide prison, aka Forgotten Soul Prison. Instead of dropping, you know, the souls directly from the chests and like the lieutenants, etc., just make all the chests in Helltide drop like a cache, okay, with bulk of enchanting materials, including, you know, roses, forgotten souls, as well as veiled crystals. You know, because yeah, the enchanting requires a lot of these, and spending an hour in Helltide, which is really boring activity, to be honest, to get, I don't know, like 40 souls, almost no veiled crystals, like, you can spend that in 10 seconds easily. If you're aiming at enchanting, at, you know, getting 4 out of 4 best affixes with high rolls, you will spend it in 10 seconds. 1 hour in Helltide to spend it in 10 seconds? I don't think so. I don't think so. You know, and add these caches, like, as a reward for completing all of the endgame, you know, activities. All of them, like Nightmare Dungeons, Gauntlet, Abattoir of Zir, PvP, whatever. And if there's a ranked leaderboard for that endgame content, just make it so that the higher you go, the more score you get, or the faster you are, the more enchanting materials or the more caches with those materials you get. Now, talking enchanting itself, just please, I know there's, you know, like a loot reward coming in season 4, and so we don't know whether this will be included, but I am kind of, you know, I don't think I don't think it's gonna happen. So let us choose what affix we want when we are enchanting the gear. You know, let's say I am looking for 3 ranks of brawling. Well, 2 ranks, 3 it's after upgrading the gear, right? But let's say I'm looking for 2 ranks of brawling for my barbarian. So let me choose that. That's what I want. And with every single reroll, the chance for me of getting that goes higher, all the way up to 100%. And once I reach 100%, I can keep rerolling, you know, to give me higher value. Obviously with like brawling skills, it's like between 1 and 2, but let's say I was rolling for, you know, crit strike damage or something. So I will, you know, once I reach the 100%, I will only be rolling crit strike damage till I get the max roll that I want for my build. And, you know, also talking about loot in general, I think we should discuss the loot filter. Like, how can pretty much an indie game last epoch, you know, have such a cool loot filter, and we have nothing? We can filter, like, you know, whether we want to look for gloves in our stash, etc., but that's not exactly what we are looking for, is it? Like, what we want is to be able to, you know, choose in a way that, for example, Diablo.trade website lets you choose the affixes and their rolls, the minimum rolls that we are looking for. Okay, and then like we can either see it directly on the ground that it's the item that we are looking for, or at least in our bag, in our inventory. Okay, like I don't want to go to stash to have a loot filter, right? Like this is what I should have in my inventory, and preferably even on the ground. So like, for example, you know, every item that is not the affixes that I'm looking for and not the rolls that I'm looking for will just be like grayed out, okay? And I think that's something that a lot of people want, because it would save you even tens of hours. You know, if you're playing a lot, then it can go into hours of saved time by just being able to immediately know what items are salvage, what items you want to keep. And now let's finally talk about the endgame. So with the endgame itself, let's talk about the Abattoir of Zir, the Gauntlet, PvP, because yeah, PvP is actually a great endgame content, and also an endgame content that we still do not have, but a lot of people, like insane amounts of people, are asking for. So let's start with Abattoir of Zir. I mean, sure, it was not everyone's cup of tea, but it was a great content in a sense that you need very difficult content, in your game to be able to balance classes around it. Like what Abattoir of Zir gave us was an insight on how strong some builds or classes in general are compared to some other. Because for example, myself, I was able to clear T20 Abattoir of Zir without the Tears of Blood glyph on my Barbarian, but I don't think there was a single rogue in the world, it was definitely not me, who could have done that. It was just not possible on a rogue. That was like a Barbarian only thing. And that needs to change. And for that to change, we do need a content that shows all the flaws of the other classes. Obviously, I'm not talking nerfs. What I'm talking about is to make other classes, other builds, other core skills stronger to match up to the strongest class, you know, or at least be close to it. Obviously, not everything will be the same power, you know, not everything can be always meta, but it should at the very least be close. Now, the Abattoir of Zir itself, what I think should definitely change, the first thing is removal of Tears of Blood glyph. First of all, you already have to spend a lot of time grinding the best gear to be able to play Abattoir of Zir. And you don't want another grind, you know, above that to be able to clear the highest level. And let's be honest, once you reached, you know, after tens of hours of grinding, TOB level 200, the T25 Abattoir of Zir literally became as easy as Helltides. Now, like, so what's the point if all you need is to spend time in grinding some glyph, but you don't actually need to be good? You don't actually need to be good. Like once you got your TOB to 100, you could clear it so easily. It just made no sense. Now, the second thing is, don't lock it behind some sigils, behind sigil powder, right? Like, just make it a content like the Gauntlet that you just start and play, and that is it. There are no, you know, like, just the fact that you had to spend first, again, maybe even hours, if you obviously had no, you know, powders, you had to spend hours first farming the sigil powder to be able to craft the sigil. It is just, don't force people to grind content they don't enjoy, because that will make them not enjoy the game in general and they will just stop playing. So yeah, stop locking content, you know, behind content that's locked behind another content. Okay, the gear is enough. The gear, the glyphs, and the seasonal powers, those are enough. We don't need more grind to be able to even access the end game content, you know. And, you know, talking to a lot of people, I came to a conclusion that the best way to implement Abattoir of Zir is to actually connect it kind of with the Gauntlet. The way it would work is that you would have, like, you know, you'd start the Abattoir of Zir, it would start at, let's say, T70 difficulty, okay? And you would have 2 minutes, just like 2 minutes, to collect as much points as possible. And after you reach a certain amount of points, a gate will open. Once you go through the gate, it will put you back at the beginning and increase the difficulty. Let's say it would start at T70, then go to T90, T100, Abattoir of Zir T14, T19, and Abattoir of Zir T20 difficulty would be the highest one. Why T20? As I already said, that's the difficulty I was able to, like, easily, actually easily, you know, finish without the Tears of Blood glyph on my barbarian. So sure, like, of course, first they need to do the balancing, you know, first they need to do the balancing of the classes, otherwise, you know, there will be again just one build who can reach there. But I think that's the right difficulty. That's the right difficulty for more, let's say, pro players or players who spend more time in the game. Now, talking about the Gauntlet, okay? Of course, like this Abattoir of Zir that would be like connected to the Gauntlet. You know, once you got to the T20 difficulty, again, you would have the 2 minutes to collect as many points, okay? So, like, you wouldn't want to just collect a lot of points to reach another difficulty, because you would want to collect as many points in those 2 minutes, okay? Then each difficulty would give you more points. So you would have to make tactics, right? You would have to strategize in like, okay, so the first one is too easy, doesn't give as many points, so I will open it in 30 seconds, go through the gate. Okay, the latest one is very hard, I can't, you know, you would have to like strategize in what layer you want to spend more time to maximize the points, you know, etc. I think it would be really, really cool, and just talking about it, I'm super excited. Of course, it would have to be locked, okay? Same as the Gauntlet, it would have to be locked each week, and basically, what you could do would be to change the layout, okay? When it ports you back to the beginning, the layout would change. It would also change the enemy type, okay? But all these layouts in the difficulties would be the same throughout the week, right? That would make people, or like that would force people to play whatever there is instead of fishing like what a lot of people did in season 2, you know, fishing for the best layout, fishing for the best enemy type to clear the Abattoir of Zir, etc. So that would have to happen as well. And yeah, oh my god, just talking about it, like, I'd love that. I'd literally love that. And now to the Gauntlet itself. If we create an endgame content like I talked about right now, that is, you know, more difficult, more rewarding for people who spend, you know, more time in the game, then we can still keep Gauntlet and actually turn it into full casual mode endgame, okay? Because, you know, I am in a lot of groups, like Facebook groups, etc., and there are actually people who are level 100, but they actually can't get higher than like T70 level of Nightmare Dungeons, etc. So if we just turn Gauntlet into full casual, you know, mode with just small changes, I would even like lower the difficulty to T60 to really be for everyone. Okay, I would lower the duration, like 8 minutes is too much, let's be honest, it's too much. So like 5 minutes, maybe even 4, but I'd say like 5 minutes would be optimal. Then everybody could play it. And of course, you don't want the, like, you know, pros or tryhards or whatever you want to call it in that content. So like, you would have to choose, right? You could only get your rewards at the end of the week, you know, from one of the contents. So all the tryhards would be in the Abattoir of Zir, or Abattoir of Zir, which would also give you more rewards as appreciation of all the time you spend in the game, right? That only makes sense. So it would give you like more rewards than the Gauntlet. So like no pro would choose to play the Gauntlet because they would just be, you know, like handicapping themselves in terms of gear and rewards. So this would really be just for the casuals. All of the casuals, you know, the dads with 3 children and 2 jobs, you know, like literally everyone would be able to enjoy it, okay? So yeah, there would be something for everyone. And, you know, the people who maybe don't have as much time, but they are very skilled in the game, they know how to make a really cool build, could also play that Gauntlet and, you know, lower levels. Because not everyone reaches 100. Like if you have, I don't know, 2 hours a week to play, then you are not reaching T100, right? But I mean, level 100, but maybe you reach like 80. And, you know, if you are skilled enough, if you have very strong build, you can clear T60 at level 80, like easily. So yeah, I think that would make it super accessible content for everyone. And now let's talk PvP. Now PvP is something I actually lately enjoy the most in the game, because yeah, it's probably the hardest content in the game, okay? Not only you need the most min-max build there is, you know, you also need to adapt to the anime, and the bosses, you know, in that fight actually do something and are not tomb lords, because, well, obviously the bosses are players, so it's very hard, you know, requires you to like understand the game very well. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. It just is a lot of fun, okay? And also a lot of interaction, testing, and just testing in general is happening in PvP, because yeah, like, you need your build to be the most min-maxed one there is. So you will literally test every single paragon point, everything to make sure it is that way. So that's why a lot of testing happens in PvP. Now, what we could do for PvP, strongholds. Okay, now you might be like, strongholds? What are they for? Exactly, they are absolutely useless right now in the game. They do nothing. They like, you know, they're nothing. They're just nothing. But we could literally make them into, you know, some super cool PvP zones. Like, imagine strongholds being like instances that you can take control of with your clan. Basically, the clans would fight over the leadership of that stronghold, and the clan that take a hold of that stronghold, if there's like, I don't know, for example, Helltide in that zone, they'd get more rewards, or they'd get more experience, right? Well, leveling alts, or just, you know, all the people in the clan who maybe even just started the game would gain more EXP if the clan got hold of that stronghold. Now, the way I see it, or the way I do it, is not to just have it, you know, come and go, that you just go there and just fight it when no one's around, you just wait for everyone else to be asleep or something. But basically, you would like approach the stronghold, approach the gates, you know, the gates of the stronghold, which would let you start the attack. Now, the defending clan would get like a prompt that would say something like, in 2 minutes, this and this clan is attacking your strongholds, and you could either join or decline, you know, the defense. And then whatever clan would win that huge clan battle, you know, would gain some rewards. Again, you know, gear, enchanting materials, you know, there's a lot of stuff you can reward players with. But yeah, generally, gear and enchanting materials is super important, because gear is not usually 4 out of 4. You need the enchanting materials. So both of these need to drop in every endgame content. Otherwise, yeah, one simply doesn't work without the other. And yeah, the other thing we can do with PvP is, what about like 1v1 arenas? At the very least, what we need is to be able to click the player when, like, you know, the wheel where you can like invite the trade or something, there should be challenge the duel. There should be challenge the duel, and if you duel someone, no one else can attack you. That would create an opportunity to test your build and simply have some really cool, you know, fun, friendly duels whatsoever. And then a 1v1, you know, ranked arena, which would be blind. Basically, you would, you know, join the arena the same way you join Gauntlet, like from the menu, right, or something, but you would not know who's against you, and the gear would be locked. That would basically mean that what you have to come up with is a build that's like a jack of all trades, a build that can do it all, and then it would be all about your skill, whether you can win or not. You know, because right now there are like builds just for barbarian versus barbarian fight, etc. So this would kind of like remove that, and in my opinion, okay, it's my personal opinion, make it way more fun. Now, the other thing I'd like to talk about, it's back to PvE, and it's a content that, yeah, again, I heard so many people ask about, and that's like a Colosseum. You would basically just be in an arena, be in an instance where you don't move, or like you don't have to move, and there would be just hordes of enemies spawning at you, you know, and you'd just be killing all of those waves of enemies every time you defeat, you know, a given, you know, number of waves. A boss would spawn, obviously not a boss like the Tomb Lord, but an actual boss, you know, with like phases, mechanics, and, you know, you would have to again play all of those mechanics to be able to defeat him. And if you do, you know, stronger monsters would start attacking you, and again, after a given, you know, amount of waves that you kill, you'd spawn another boss. Because yeah, a lot of people are asking for that. A lot of people are asking for a content where they just stand on one place, you know, no speed running, no nothing, and they just kill monsters, and that's it. So this is like the wrap up. This is like the wrap up of my ideas connected with ideas of other people. There are many more. There are many more ideas and things that could help the end game. So I kind of like picked and, you know, talked about the ones that I think are the most important, and that would literally turn this game into a jewel, into a goddamn game of the year. It would be, yeah, like it would be so enjoyable to have all of this in Diablo 4. So let me know in the comment section down below whether you agree. What are your ideas to, you know, to improve the game, to improve most of the end game of the game? And yeah, thanks for watching. See ya in the next one.